Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for a brand new Chelsea news video. And of course, after the craziness that was last night, if you guys haven't seen 6 things we learnt yet from Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 1, I would advise you to do so because it was probably one of the wackiest videos I've ever made. But at the same time, I think it was fully justified that we broke the rules of the series to give 6 green boxes to both Gareth Bale and Tottenham Hotspur because Chelsea are so flipping lucky here. It's like you're doing one of those pictures where you're hanging off the cliff and then you slip on a stone and then all of a sudden an albatross just flies above the water and you land on the albatross and you start flying like you're a dragon through the sky. Chelsea are lucky. Chelsea are incredibly lucky, but regardless of what happens in the Champions League final on Saturday, which we're going to talk a little bit about today with my initial beginning of the week feelings, is going to be like a daily update from me in terms of nerve count, in terms of how we feel about things, the more that we understand developments with potential injuries. We're going to talk about one of them that could be key and bad for Chelsea in a moment. But after what I saw yesterday, I am very much just like, let's just give it a go. You know, I think Man City was so incredibly good yesterday, even though obviously their eyes are on this match on Saturday. They'd already won the league. They wanted to put on a performance for their fans that were back in the Etihad when they win the trophy and lift the trophy. They wanted to give their fans something to really enjoy on that afternoon yesterday, and they bloody did it, didn't they? Everton were woeful, but Manchester City were just scintillatingly brilliant. They were outstanding all game. Sergio Aguero gets a cameo, scores 2 goals in his final Premier League game. What an incredible striker Sergio Aguero is. And I don't want to spend my whole time here ranting and raving about Manchester City because I'm a Chelsea fan and I want to beat them into the ground when Saturday night is upon us for that Champions League final in Portugal. But after what I saw last night, what I saw against Arsenal, what I saw in the cup final, I'm seriously worried. Chelsea, despite the win against Leicester, which has ended up being that result that takes us into the Champions League, we're out of form. We're looking a little bit tired. We're looking a bit lost. Players yesterday that came back in, Kovacic back in the starting 11, and the last couple of games he's looked poor. He was giving the ball away. He was looking less confident when he actually had the ball at his feet to go forward, to progress. No Kante in the squad last night, and I pray that he's going to be fit and ready for this final on Saturday, because after seeing the Jorginho Kovacic partnership last night, I'm not confident with that going into what could be the biggest game of all of these players' careers and one of the biggest games of my lifetime and yours. So, the first bit of news that we have today is a negative one, unfortunately, and it is about Edouard Mendy, our goalkeeper, who collided with the post when Bertrand Traore, ex-Chelsea player, gave Aston Villa the lead at Villa Park last night. It was a moment where, first of all, the reaction is, blimey, we've gone 1-0 down in a match that we've got to be winning. We had early chances, didn't take any of them, and you just start to think it's going to be one of those days. Kepa comes out for the second half, and it is rumoured, at the moment, I don't have the breaking news of how bad it is. We will find out later on today. But there is a possibility that Edouard Mendy may have seriously injured his ribs in colliding with the post, which if he has, it would look highly unlikely that if it's something serious, he'd be able to lead Chelsea from the back in the final of the Champions League, which not only would it be a tragedy for him personally, because he's had such a wonderful season. The man's story from where he came from within professional football, it's absolutely magnificent, and it's one of those where whether Chelsea win or lose, Mendy to be playing in a Champions League final is just an incredible story in itself, let alone his importance and the key role that he plays in this Chelsea team. He's become a leader in the dressing room. He's become a player who you can see when he's out there. The Chelsea defence and everybody is far more confident when Edouard Mendy is the goalkeeper compared to Kepa Arrizabalaga. I know it's very unfair to always compare the two, but as a football fan, as someone who watches every Chelsea game, sometimes even more than once, I watch the games back again, a second or even a third time sometimes if it's a good one, I can see that when Kepa is in goal and Mendy isn't in goal, there is a little bit more fragility in the Chelsea back line. We're more reluctant to not give the ball to the keeper in sticky situations, even though there are times when Mendy with his feet isn't quite as calamity-proof as we would like him to be. Obviously, remember that Man United game earlier this season. Imagine, there are fine lines in the Premier League. There are fine lines in Premier League football. And if Mendy would have conceded that goal when it went under his foot and it was almost a disaster for Chelsea, then we wouldn't have got top 4. But other than those little moments, Mendy's had a wonderful season. And I really pray that Edouard Mendy is fit and ready to play against City on Saturday. We'll find out more information from Cobham when Chelsea players arrive at training today. And there's going to be a lot of videos this week, keeping up to date with everything that you guys need to know. So make sure you're subscribed to GBFC. And whilst we're here, before we move into the next story, if you can hit the like button, that would be grand. The next story is about N'Golo Kante. I mentioned him earlier, but again, I think that N'Golo Kante not being available for Chelsea in the Champions League final, I said it was a crime against humanity in the preview for the game against Aston Villa. But after watching the game yesterday, I've concluded in my mind that if Kante isn't fit, I'm literally just going to sink a load of beers beforehand, and if it gets painful, then I was prepared for it. You know what I mean? So, N'Golo Kante, we hope you are fit and ready to play on Saturday as well. The next story, and it comes from Twitter, which is always a little bit of a dangerous place. As I'm not a footballing journalist, I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't really know what I am, really. I'm a YouTuber, of course. I'm a bloody YouTuber. There's my silver button over there to show that we have 100,000 people on GBFC. It's close to 200. Always look at Twitter for the news. I'm sick and tired of BBC, sick and tired of Sky Sports, unless it's obviously our boy Fabrizio Romano reporting things. But on Twitter yesterday, there was an account, and it was a pretty big social media account for Real Madrid. And they've come out and said that Eden Hazard is ready to leave Real Madrid this summer, and he's pushing to return to Chelsea. Now, it's a pretty big account. I don't think there is too much validity in this just yet, but there is quite often with some of these big accounts that report news for some of the big clubs in the world. When they do have quite a big following, they often do get sources either within or very close to the club, and they end up reporting things a little bit earlier than the official reports suggest. Now, if we look at Real Madrid this season, Eden Hazard has only managed to score 4 goals. It has been a disaster for Eden Hazard with various different injuries, overweight at the beginning of the season, which is a common theme with Eden Hazard actually as a footballer. So with Real Madrid going through a process at the moment of obviously the Super League fallout, and they're not happy about that, they needed the cash from the Super League, didn't you, Mr. Perez? I've got a feeling that there could be an exodus of players at Real Madrid this summer. Chelsea have been linked with Varane, Manchester United have been linked with Raphael Varane, and because of what Eden Hazard cost them, and how poorly he's returning as a result of that balance between the fee and what he's doing at Real Madrid, I don't think it would be a crazy thought that Eden Hazard could be on his way out of the Bernabeu this summer. Now, obviously, when I saw this on Twitter and I see people tagging me in this saying, what do you think about it? What do you think about Eden Hazard coming back? There are 2 different layers to this. There is the sentimental layer, which is obviously Eden Hazard is one of my favourite Chelsea players there's ever been. There's also the sentiment of in 2012 when Chelsea won the Champions League, Eden Hazard with the famous tweet, "I'm signing for the champions of Europe," or words along those lines. It could be the case again, and it would just be like one of those moments where your grandma sees you score for the first time in 5-a-side tournaments and she comes to watch you play. Big grin on your face, nanny's happy. Well, I don't know why I'm calling myself a nan. I'm just definitely a father to a dog and a cat. But at this moment in time, the thought of Eden Hazard returning to Chelsea is poetic beauty. But at the same time, I need to be rational. I need to think about this for where Chelsea need to be going, where Eden Hazard has gone in his career, and I just feel as though it could be one of those where he comes back and we're expecting the Eden Hazard of old, but maybe Jose Mourinho was right the whole time, and Eden Hazard getting no protection from referees during his time in the Premier League at Chelsea has just given him too many injuries that he's not been able to shake off, and his career might well be in a downward spiral. I really don't want to believe that. I absolutely adore Eden Hazard, and apart from the 2 games he played against Chelsea, I want to see him tearing up football pitches every single time his boots glide across that grass, wherever it may be in Spain. But I do believe Real Madrid could, in fact, be interested in selling Hazard this summer. And I think if the player had a preference, we know what Chelsea means to him. We know what he said when he left Chelsea to go to Real Madrid. He came out and said, one day I'll be back here. Chelsea is my home. I'll always love this club. And if he does come back, I'd be excited. But I think if any of these stories are true, we all need to be very, very clear that expectations of Eden Hazard, if he were to come back to Chelsea, I don't think it's going to happen, but expectations would need to be tempered. And also, because obviously this channel is all about me talking about speculation, talking about my opinions on the speculation, I also think Chelsea would definitely be better going for a younger winger. And you guys know, I made a video a couple days ago saying that I believe that winger should be Jadon Sancho. So, Hazard back to Chelsea. Let me know, do you think it's feasible? Do you think we should do it? And what would it mean to you if Eden Hazard was to become another blue after maybe Chelsea lifting the Champions League again? It would be pretty extraordinary. And then who knows? We go and do the double. We win it next year again. And finally, Eden Hazard gets the Champions League trophy. But anyway, going to wrap this video up here. I want to say a massive thank you for all the love and support. And this is the biggest week in the channel's history. So if you don't have the bell notifications turned on, and if you're not subscribed to GBFC, you should, because you don't want to miss any content this week. There's going to be loads of stuff dropping. I'm going to try and do Chelsea news every day, as well as a load of other videos building up to the biggest flipping game of the season. And it is huge. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you all later. Come on, you Blues.